Hello, my name is Connor McMichael, and today I'm going to discuss a topic of great concern and contention: immigration. At a time of such great division within our own country and aggression between countries, we must find a common ground. Where morality and convictions are often blurred, perhaps what can unite countries is economic interest. Many of the countries of Central America are reeling from the social and economic devastation caused by political instability and gang violence. Many of the countries of Central's northern triangle, such as Guatemala and Honduras, have seen a rise in the national murder rate, and the Department of State continues to warn U.S. citizens to avoid El Salvador, as the rate of violence has continued to increase. Even Costa Rica, a state typically known as a haven from the aforementioned Central American countries, has seen a rise in violent crime over the past few years. With much of this violence in Central America, why are we surprised with the number of families and individuals who are seeking safety in more stable countries like the United States and Canada? Even more concerning, why do we still refer to these travelers as a monolithic group of immigrants? It's a problem with semantics, and it is very important for us to make the distinction between what an immigrant is and what a refugee is. An immigrant relocates to live in another country and become a citizen of that country. They may only immigrate if they have work or have a place to live. And immigrants typically are driven by economic or social networking factors. On the other hand, a refugee, according to Section 101A 42 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, is a person who is unable or unwilling to return to his or her home country because of a well-founded fear of persecution due to race, membership in a particular social group, political opinion, religion, or national origin. Unlike immigrants, the legal status of a refugee is defined by the United Nations, not the country that the refugee is fleeing to. Also, unlike immigrants, refugees are not citizens, but they receive basic amenities and health care until they can resettle into a third country. Citizens of countries in the Northern Triangle face these dangers that classify persons as refugees. The murder rates in these countries continue to rise as gangs become more aggressive and better funded through extremely high levels of extortion. Those who are most affected by this extortion are the poor and the business owners. Many who are not able to pay the high fees are killed. What makes this particularly dangerous is that this extortion largely takes place on a community level, making the threat of death much more difficult to avoid while within the country. Making this distinction, we can begin to prioritize aid and admission for those who need it the most, and have some hope of dismantling the painful and harmful stigma of illegal immigrant for those who are only here to escape persecution from extreme gangs who may classify more accurately as terrorist groups. To properly transform our perspective of these individuals and to create the policy infrastructure required to enact a stable refugee program, we must work with countries throughout Central America and the adjacent nations to create an international cooperation for both the relocation of endangered families and increased economic investment strategies for poor countries. Nations for the Common Interest of American Stability, or INCASE for short, is a coalition of nations that would work together to create strategies on two fronts, both social and economic. Along the social front, strategies would be formed to identify individuals and then families who are in the most immediate danger of loss of life. Based on a predefined ceiling of refugees for each country, the identified persons would be placed in the designated country with an emphasis on familiar connection. Beyond the basic human rights standards established by INCASE, each country will care for the refugee as is common to existing policy. This is aimed to redefine the issue we are facing as one of civil distress and persecution, not a frivolous economic gain. The second branch of INCASE will develop strategies for investing in defined countries, for example, El Salvador and Honduras, in hopes of creating economic stability for the region. Though the United States seems far removed from this region, the benefits will be high. Not only can this reduce the numbers of persons entering our country illegally, but it has the potential to create a brand new market with which to create both domestic and regional economic prosperity.